Greetings and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I am your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by Johnny Paulus. Johnny, it is May 22nd. Welcome in, sir. How are you doing today?
Good. I just had a 3-day weekend, so I took Friday off, and we didn't tell the kids what we were up to. We took them to school, and then we came and busted them out of school around 11 o'clock in the morning and took them to Six Flags.
Man, I haven't been to Six Flags in forever.
Yeah, my boys had never been on a roller coaster, so I took them on the same first coaster that I rode when I went with my dad to Six Flags was the Wild One. So that was the coaster that I took my boys on. And we did that one. They have a new one called the Ragin' Cajun, which is kind of like a kiddie roller coaster, but pretty fun. We did Roar, which is one of my favorite ones there, and then I did Joker's Jinx. I did Superman. They have a new one called Firebird that was kind of disappointing. I did the Batwing. Batwing's awesome. Batwing is the one where you sit in your seat, and right when it starts, it lays you down, and then you go up the hill laying down, and as soon as you get to the top, it flips you, and you're basically belly toward the ground the whole rest of the roller coaster. It's fucking nuts. You feel like you're flying.
Yeah, that one's very sketchy feeling. It feels very sketchy. I always like the Joker's Jinx there.
Yeah, Joker's Jinx is awesome.
That was always one of my favorites.
Yeah, Joker's Jinx was great. I just like how that one like blasts off out of nowhere.
Yeah, Roar just feels like it's going to come off the tracks at any second.
Yes. Roar is the perfect rickety wooden coaster. I love it.
Yeah, it does not feel safe by modern standards, but somehow it is. So, whatever. It's like a hair or something on my glasses. Ugh.
We'll get that handled.
Yeah, it's kind of... I keep looking over at you, and there's just this big hair coming out the middle of your face. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's definitely not me.
Oh, there we go. So, man, I've just been busy this weekend with music stuff. The bass opportunities just keep coming my way.
Great.
So, I'm gonna go check out some cover band tomorrow.
Sweet.
And inform them that I don't do weekly rehearsals just to do weekly rehearsals.
Right.
See how that goes.
Yep.
It's like I'm coming to show you that I know how to handle the instrument.
Yep.
And that I'm going to disappear until you're ready and have a whole set together that we can go out and play shows with. Because I don't need to do that every week. No. It's 2023. I can definitely practice on my own.
Yep.
And we have this weekend, practice round 2.
Yep.
And then an Orioles game, if I remember right.
Yep.
Busy week, man.
Yeah, busy week.
Busy week.
Going to see the Birds Saturday.
Again, it's the Rangers?
Yep.
Against the Texas Rangers?
Yep. Get to see the O's whoop some Ranger ass.
Yeah, hopefully kick the snot out of them. I mean, Orioles have been great this year.
They sure have.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is episode 118 of the Power Gamer Podcast. We would always like to remind you that wherever you're listening to the show, you can support us for free. And the only kind of support we need right now is growth and visibility. Best way to do that is leave a review. Go ahead. Click that little 5 stars. Click that like button. Click subscribe.
Hit the thumbs up on YouTube.
We ask for no money. We just ask that you come and help us grow this so more people can listen to our amazing show. That's right. So if you could take 2 quick seconds and do that, or take a moment after you finish listening to this week's episode, we would greatly appreciate it. It is the best and only way currently that you can support what we've been doing now for close to, I guess, a year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
Crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, year and a half, I guess. So anyways, everyone, welcome in. This is an important week because, well, if you're listening to a video game podcast, you probably know that a pretty significant game has come out that now me and Johnny have both had a chance to sink our teeth in. I've had a little bit more going on, so I'll get us started off with our first segment of the week, which, as always, we will discuss what we've been playing. I'm still playing Redfall. I'm still playing it.
I didn't see that coming.
I'm still playing it.
Really
and
didn't.
You know what? I can already tell you what it is. It's like a 6.5. But it's fun to play with someone. So if you have Game Pass, I'm not saying to spend any additional income on Redfall. Don't be that one guy that bought it on Steam. And I actually know the guy that bought it on Steam. Because he was really pumped for Arcane. Sorry, Pikey. But
Get called out.
sorry, Pikey. But for everyone else, please just check it out on Game Pass. Does it play better on PC? Yeah. Is it more fun to sit my ass on the couch and play it on my Xbox? Yeah. And for it being a shitty game, do I really care that it's running at 30 frames? No. It's a shit game. It's fine. And it's fun to play with someone. Now, ironically enough, if you've read any reviews on this game anywhere, which I know a lot of you have, because it's been fun to see how hard this game's been dogged. Unfortunately, every review that I read contained the same massive spoiler about something that occurs about halfway through the game. And I'm not going to spoil it here, but if you've read a review and you're like, should they have told me that? The answer is no, they fucking shouldn't have told you that. But I will say that once you reach that particular turning point in the game, it actually gets hard and difficult and fun. So if you can slog through, I'd say the first half of the game, something will happen, and then there's a lot more bad guys. They're a lot more alert. There's swarms of fucking vampires, and it's murder by numbers. If the AI was any smarter, you would just be fucked. So I'm having actual fun with it at this point, because now the game is challenging. There was some good boss fights once we got to that point in the game. It's really kind of picked up. So, this might be a second half hero. And if it can get some patches while I'm still playing it, this could be a salvageable game.
Yeah.
To some extent. The main problem that Redfall has is put a gun to my head and I can't tell you what the fucking story is. It seems to just basically be vampires showed up in this town and the vampires wanted to run this particular town for some reason. That is the story.
So they're not like worldwide. It's not some massive.
No.
Just one town and a bunch of random people that are like, we got to get them out of our town.
That is the plot. It's really fucking dumb. But that's all I can put together. And I'm pretty astute at paying attention to stories and like deeper meanings and stuff.
Right.
A lot of people had oh Christ. What was the game called? From last year, the spooky horror, like Geigery looking game that me and Niall liked.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Something with an S, right?
Why can't I think of this? This is hilarious. On Xbox.
Yeah, I know exactly
Well, anyway,
what you're talking about.
It had the most vague book story of all time. But if you really read deep into I'm pulling it up while I'm talking. If you really read deep into it, it actually had a decent story kind of tucked away behind it. Right. Scorn. Jesus Christ.
Scorn. I knew it was an S. Thank you.
Scorn. So, like, if I could find a story in Scorn, if there was a story to be found in Redfall, I would have fucking found it already. No, not at all. So, don't play it for the narrative. There is none.
Right.
Which is the only thing that's confusing, because Arcane normally does a pretty great job with narrative. I mean, especially their last game had an amazing story. It was really good. It wasn't the most complicated thing, but it was easy to digest. in a Deathloop, but not so much here. That's enough on Redfall this week. I was not expecting this next game to be as important as it was, and that is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I don't think a lot of reviews do this game justice and how they speak about it, because they're like, yeah, it plays well. Yeah, it's a, push forward from the first game. It's good. There's so much in Jedi Survivor that you cannot talk about, because there's just huge, giant plot points that happen in this game that are absolutely astounding for Star Wars content in general, but also for just in a video game. We've run into some video games that have wonderful stories in the past decade, and one of the ones that stands out from the rest is Horizon Zero Dawn.
100%. Fully agree.
And the culmination now between Fallen Order and Survivor is Fallen Order is sort of like an appetizer. It's like, here's the gameplay, here's the idea. It's a new hope. It's the feel-good story. You could fucking predict it with a blindfold on.
Yep.
Yay, go team, go heroes, everything's great. Survivor is fucking Empire Strikes Back.
Awesome.
And they strike back like a motherfucker. And the name Survivor is fully realized every step of the way through the game. So even somebody that's only played a little bit of it that's listening to me talk, and don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything here. The game's way too fresh. But every step that you complete in the story, the name Survivor becomes more and more severe. And by the end of the game, it's in its full definition. There was a point in Jedi Survivor where I was so upset over something that occurred, I had to turn off the game, digest for a day, because it was like one of those moments like, do you remember how you felt the first time you watched the first season of Game of Thrones?
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of people know what I'm talking about with that. I'm not going to spoil Game of Thrones on a gaming podcast, but
no.
And you're just absolutely mortified. And you're like, why the fuck did I even watch this show?
Yep.
How could they do that? Survivor does that multiple times. Like that level of you just will not believe. You couldn't predict what happens. Me say you still won't predict what happens. It's just so far out of left field, and it's masterful. The game let me explore elements that I wish every Star Wars game would let me explore. One of the reasons why I think me and Johnny both agree on this, and we'll have to leave our agreement at this point because you haven't completed it yet. You're muted. That Knights of the Old Republic is the best Star Wars game.
Yep.
Jedi Survivor is the best Star Wars game.
Wow.
Just once you finish it, I think you'll agree.
I can't fucking wait. That's great.
That Jedi Survivor.
That's what I want to hear.
Is just unbelievable. And I walked away from that game feeling just completely like I'd been punched in the fucking face, and I loved it. And the one bit of negative feedback I have to say is it does have a little bit of performance chugging. it's never to the point where you can't enjoy the game. It's never awful. But it did have a few moments where, like, BD1, your little droid, he picks up new abilities as you go through the game, and you need them to solve puzzles. So I had run into one point where, I fought through a bunch of enemies and things, and then it's puzzle time, and then I'm hitting the button to activate his ability, and nothing happens. I'm like, huh. Am I, like, somewhere I shouldn't be? What's going? He's not doing. Say they're just mashing the button. I'm like, well, I'm literally fucking stuck. So I'm like, it has to be glitched. Close the game, open the game. Yeah, I had to work back through about 10 minutes of stuff.
Right.
And then hit the button and it worked. So I'm like, okay. So the game does have some bugginess, a little bit of chugging. Things that you really wish, especially on the console where I played it, PS5, were not there. It's a little bit more understandable with PC because there's so many different variations of hardware to try and get right. It's almost fucking impossible. But on a console, it's a little bit of a blower to run into that stuff. So, but that's it. That's all bad I have to say about the game. It is one of the highest scores I've ever given a game on the show. It is a 9.5.
Wow.
That's going to be a tough score to beat. Jedi Survivor is a 9.5.
Wow.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have that game, if it's on your shelf, I am so glad I beat it and that I wouldn't touch Tears of the Kingdom until I finished that game, because goddamn, it was awesome. And it's a tough one I feel like to walk away and come back from, because the urgency of everything going on, I don't know how you walk away and come back. You just sort of have to live in that world, I feel like, almost. So absolute masterpiece. Just play it. Absolutely just play it. Johnny, our paths are going to intersect here, so I'm going to pass the ball to you.
Yep.
To get us started here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been wanting some Tears of the Kingdom discussion, we're not going to spoil anything really in the game. So we're not going to discuss anyone that you meet that you would, discover organically or anything like that.
Nope.
But if it's been shown in a trailer, it's going to be fair game. So the only people I would say might want to skip this part of our show today are people who would not even watch a trailer or a reveal video. Like, if you're that level of concerned, A, I don't know why you're listening to a podcast that talks about video games.
Yeah.
But B, we also understand that this game is special, and maybe you've made a special consideration for it. So you might want to skip past this one if you're that concerned about anything being discussed. So with that disclaimer put in place, Johnny, long time coming. It's been since 2017 since we've had fresh Zelda content in our hands. Tears of the Kingdom is loose. You went to a midnight release. You're fully on the hype wagon coming in.
Yep.
You know that I had some strong concerns about the game.
I'm dying to hear your thoughts.
Prior to its release. We have both spent a considerable amount of time with the game. I think I'm somewhere around 15 to 20 hours with it already.
I'm probably there a little bit more, yeah.
So let me pass it to you first.
Sure.
What have you been playing this week, sir?
I've been playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That's basically it. Between that and Marvel Snap, that's what I've been up to. This game reminds me of when I was younger and I would wake up in the morning and I would play my game. I would get home from school and I would play my game. I would wake up early Saturday morning so that I could play my game. This is a game that I could easily just take a month off work and just do nothing but play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom all day, every day, night and day. There's so much to do. It is so incredibly inventive and creative, and the way that I feel like half of the puzzles that I've solved, I don't even know if I did it the way that you're supposed to do it. I just figured out a thing that worked. Between the abilities to put things together, and then now as I'm getting further into the game, I'm getting more complicated contraptions, and I can build more complicated vehicles. And now I have the auto build thing where you can preset a build. So if you've made something before, you can just pull it out of thin air and make it again. So if you take the time to make a really cool vehicle that does this or does that, you can then pull it back up whenever you want. I finished the Fire Temple this evening. It's very cool to have the themed dungeons back. I know that was one of your biggest gripes about Breath of the Wild, and we've talked about it before, where the Divine Beasts were all kind of samey in their look. And I do feel like Zelda should have a fire dungeon and a water dungeon, and it's Zelda. That's what they do. That's just sort of a part of the thing. But one of the biggest things I don't hear a lot of people really talking about with this game is how much more invested into the story that I am. I feel like there's way more cinematics. I feel like there's way more plot reveals and things happening within the game. Everything about this game is enriched beyond Breath of the Wild. I think it was IGN said that it made Breath of the Wild feel like a first draft. And I think that's a pretty apt description, because this does feel like if Breath of the Wild was a panel of knobs and all of them were at 10, they found a way to take every one of those knobs and put them to 11. Every single thing about this game feels like more, and not in a bad way. I love the endless exploration of picking a direction and going anywhere. And now with the added things of there's islands up in the sky and there's holes in the ground that I can go delve into. One of the biggest reasons why I haven't finished more of the temples is because I love the underground portion. I've mapped out probably 30-40% of the entire map underground, because I love exploring down there. I love the danger of exploring down there, and I'm hooked on it. And I am chomping at the bit. I am dying to know if Mike Dawson is in love with this game as hard as I am.
So playing Tears of the Kingdom brings back a lot of my memories of Breath of the Wild. And overall, you'll remember, I did like Breath of the Wild, but my criticisms of it were, it was a big, beautiful open world, but that there just really wasn't much going on there. Basically it was 4 dungeons and then go take down the boss and credits roll. I mean, it's a very short game, honestly. And there was stuff to do, like to go get the Master Sword and running shrines to pump up your heart count, but overall the game was pretty easy. There was not really any challenging puzzles. I'm a big proponent for the old gameplay loop of Zelda games where you had to work through a dungeon, find all the small keys, find the nightmare key, find your way to the door to use the nightmare key, fight the boss, get the item, move on. And I've always maintained that the game that did the best job of that was Ocarina of Time. So in Tears of the Kingdom, right off the bat, the game is different. It starts in a heavily cinematic environment. And where you've spent a lot of time underground, I've spent a lot of time on the main level of Hyrule, searching for these calligraphies that are on the ground that will unlock more of the cinematic story of what's happening. And it's so detailed, the story and the characters, in a way that Breath of the Wild just never even got close to. And they really lean into the lore of Ocarina of Time in this game. Hard. So it's more than scratching the itch of an old school Zelda player's want for that connection to what makes Zelda games great. You went chasing fire, I went chasing wind. I remember the Rito being one of my favorite sets of characters from Breath of the Wild. Knowing that the ground level map is more or less the same, and the game's sort of framed similarly to Breath of the Wild in that the main locations for your dungeons seem to be in the same areas as before. So that hasn't changed all that much, but what has changed is what's there when you get there. And I can't describe to someone what getting to the Wind Temple is like. Getting to the Wind Temple, just getting there, took over an hour.
I would say it was similar to the Fire Temple, yeah. It took me a long time to figure out how to get there.
And it really played on the vertical element of this game to get to the Wind Temple. And it was a sequence of things in an open world game that I can't describe to you. I just can't. It's the wildest shit that you'll ever see in a video game. Getting to the Wind Temple. It's absolutely the wildest shit that you'll ever see in a game. There's nothing else that comes close to that experience. And I can't wait for everyone to have gone after the Wind Temple to see what I'm talking about. And even the end boss of that area is the wildest boss fight I have ever seen in a Zelda game. I can't say really anything else about it. The dungeon itself was laid out like a traditional Zelda dungeon.
Yep.
The mechanics required to fight the boss were insane. I mean, just this one slice of the game that I've tackled at this point is probably the best thing I've ever seen, not only in a Zelda game, but in a video game, period. So that all sounds like high praise, but what's interesting is that's barely scratching the surface of the total experience that I've had with the game.
Yep.
The new architecture that's in the sky and how you get there and how you traverse those areas. It's difficult to put into words because there's not like an elevator that takes you to these places. You need to use the physics in the game to fucking launch yourself super high up into the air to get. It's the same rules as Breath of the Wild, but you're using them in new ways that just are so original and have never been done before.
Yeah.
The mechanics of building in this game and all the different pieces that they thought of and how the physics engine reacts to everything in this game. For being on a fucking old ass piece of hardware, it puts everyone else to shame. It puts everyone else to shame because no one has come close to this.
No.
Speaking of the old ass hardware that this game is on, whatever these guys are doing that they haven't shared with the rest of the world, imagine what Nintendo would do with a modern piece of hardware. Because I'm running this on the Switch. I'm not running this on an emulator or anything like I know a lot of you are. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous what they get out of this old ass piece of hardware. And it's all the smart choices that they've made from, I mean, even just the general art direction is so intelligent because it lets them get so much out of the hardware while looking absolutely stunning the entire time. Tears of the Kingdom has the most amazing gameplay, one of the best stories I've ever been a part of, a world that I want to live in 24/7, that I just don't ever want to turn off.
Yep.
Some of the most amazing physics that have been seen in a game, and absolutely zero technical issues.
Not a one.
Haven't completed the game yet, but I would imagine to say that Tears of the Kingdom is probably the greatest video game that's ever been developed in the history of gaming.
I fully agree. Fully. And like you said, I fully realize I'm not even 25% of the way into this game. But it has yet to disappoint me once. There hasn't been one single moment. Everything is joy and like pride when you figure something out.
It's
Like,
tough
I mean,
too. It's a hard game.
It's yeah. And that was that while you were talking, I wanted to mention another thing. Another thing that I haven't really seen in many of the reviews or any of the articles and stuff like that. This game is significantly harder than Breath of the Wild.
It's tough as nails. Yeah.
You will get absolutely clapped by the wrong moblin if you're not careful. This game's tough.
But what I like about
game's
this
tough.
game is it autosaves constantly.
Constantly. Yes, you die and you're 50 feet behind where you were.
Yeah,
you don't really
it
care.
never dicks you over.
Yep.
Which is so smart. Like every time you'll see that little saving thing pop up, and I mean it's just rolling all the time, tracking your progress. So,
I mean, there's been camps that have taken me a dozen times to try to finally take them out, and honestly, a lot of times it's because of lack of resources. Like maybe I'm out of arrows, or I don't have a bow, or my weapons are falling apart, or whatever the excuse may be. I know I can take these guys out, but I just I just don't have the right resources. So I just, because the autosave is so forgiving, I just keep plugging at it. Where if it were, your save loads and you're 200 yards that way and I got to go fight through the other two waves first, I would get frustrated and move on, go do something else. But because my game loads and I'm 20 feet from where I start, I'm like, all right, well, let me pluck that dude with an arrow. Let's try again.
another thing that they really did a great job with in this was doubling down and saying, no, we're leaving the weaponware in, but then adding a new ability to make finding quality weapons so easy, and to where you're just constantly customizing your loadout with powerful gear.
Well, and it kind of reminds me of I really enjoyed the gameplay loop in Breath of the Wild, where whenever you see a cooking pot, you're like, well, all right, let's just cook whatever we got so that we got plenty of food. I find myself doing the same thing with weapons. I'll start going through my weapons and be like, oh, I have 3 weapons with nothing fused. What's the best shit I've got? And like, let me just take those 2 minutes to just do that. Let me put something on my shield. Let me, by the way, have you put a minecart on your shield yet?
A minecart? No.
You can fuse a minecart on your shield, and when you shield slide, it's just like a skateboard. You can just skate down a mountain.
Oh, sick. You
can skate on a rail. You can just fuse a minecart to your shield.
Have you put a sapphire or ruby on your shield?
Yes, I have.
Probably, yeah. With you being in the fire temple, you probably figured out that was very useful.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, the game is outstanding, and the crazy thing is it was revealed this week that EG, the franchise director for Legend of Zelda, said basically Tears of the Kingdom was fully ready for launch a year ago.
Yeah.
And they just said, we're just going to keep polishing and keep cooking and keep polishing and keep cooking. And I got to tell you, with the physics engine in this game and the way that physics works, if you can think of something in your head that you think will probably work, it will fucking work. And I've never played a game like that in my life, where it's like, well, I guess I got to make a ramp. So let me attach this thing here at that angle, and then if I put this rock here, that's going to give me a. Let me attach that there. There we go. That's a good ramp. Let's try that, and it will fucking work because the physics is that tight. I mean, the physics in this game is incredible. I've never played anything like it. It's so fucking tight. Everything works the way that it should. It's astounding.
Yeah. So I'm going to be living in this game at least for the next week, probably weeks, because there's so much to do. I haven't even been underground yet. I haven't gone into any of the castles.
Oh my god, bro. It's addictive.
Oh, I don't know. I've got plenty of the mats. It looks like you need to heal from the gloom or whatever it is, but
yep.
Yeah, no, I need to get down into the depths.
The depths are very, very fun.
And see what's going on down there. I haven't been at all yet. I'm still just
I've
enthralled.
spent probably 5-6 hours in the depths.
Awesome.
Just literally just exploring and looking and finding, like, oh, cool, found a part of an armor set, or I found a big ass boss that I'm not ready to fight yet. There's all kinds of shit down there.
Awesome. So yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. Gosh, if you're not playing it, just worth buying a Switch over, worth
yep
everything. I mean, it's just
100%
too good.
Look, the Switch has been out long enough. If you've been avoiding the Switch, you don't think you're gonna play it enough, just go on Facebook Marketplace. I see used Switches for like 150, 180, like all the time. You can just get some old beat up Switch, and trust me, this game alone, you're good. If you've never played Breath of the Wild and you get to play both back to back, bro, you're good for a year.
Yeah, probably.
I mean,
not to mention,
just
there's this little game called Metroid Dread on this system that's
which got our game of the year to our first year. Yeah, yeah.
Just
Metroid Dread, also astounding.
Got our Metroid representing.
Man, I got a new Metroid shirt. I should have wore it tonight.
Did you see mine's done like a Slayer cover?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. The Metroid shirt I got from. Actually, you know what? I'll make it my 1-up. I'll talk about it for my 1-up.
Fair enough. Yeah. So as Johnny was touching on, yeah, it was revealed this week that Tears of the Kingdom was delayed by over a year internally after it was mostly complete. So, which makes sense because it was the most anticipated game of the year for multiple years at the Video Game Awards. But yeah, more or less it was revealed that they took a year of time just to polish the game. Imagine being so meticulous to take a year for polish, Arcane. All Xbox Studios, 343 Industries.
CD Projekt Red.
And I thought this was interesting. I mean, not just because it's Zelda, but there's more to it than that. What's wonderful about Nintendo products is Nintendo puts out a lot of games. And anytime you get a game from Nintendo that's made by Nintendo, we're not talking about Game Freaks here with fucking Pokemon.
Nope.
Which people that's actually not first party.
Correct.
Though Pokemon lives on Nintendo consoles, it's not Nintendo.
Yep.
But what's interesting with Zelda games is just that or Nintendo games in general, is just they have this affinity for perfection at Nintendo that other companies just aren't willing to take the time.
Sony's close.
Sony's pretty close. But they still, even their first parties have some shortcomings, which have been more common lately, like with Naughty Dog and the PC release of Last of Us Part 1. So yeah, it's very interesting to see just the cultural commitment that Nintendo has to ensuring that their products are perfect. To take a year to polish means you have faith in your product that you will get the ROI necessary for taking that year. You know, and I just don't think enough game development teams understand the importance of protecting your IP and ensuring that when you come out to launch that you have a perfect product. You know, I'm still blown away when we think about the competitors to Nintendo, right? Nintendo's hallmark franchise has always been Mario and then Zelda. And Zelda's for the more hardcore gamers, always has been. There's never been a Zelda game that came out that was a busted piece of shit. Ever.
Not once.
And every time they release a game, they seem to up the bar. Same's true with Mario. But then you look over to their competition, and it's almost like they make it too easy for Nintendo. Because if Zelda and Mario are Nintendo's most important IPs, what would we argue is Microsoft's most important IP?
Halo.
Absolutely Halo. And it took them a year after launch just to get their game right. Well, look at the competition, and they took a year just to clean up. You know, what does that tell you? And Nintendo doesn't have Microsoft money. Nowhere close. So Microsoft is fine financially. But why is it that, or I guess, and Johnny, I'll throw this idea to you. Why do you think that Nintendo cares about their products so much more than their competitors? That's a good question, isn't it?
That is a good question. I mean, if you think about it, the Nintendo Entertainment System was such a colossal shift in gaming when it came out. And it's because the first party titles were all fucking bangers. Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Brothers 3, Metroid, Kid Icarus. All of the original NES titles were the shit. And then what happened with Super Nintendo? Same. N64, same. GameCube, same. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know, but they are so good at earning the trust of their fans and then repaying that trust with, you know, if they announced tomorrow, we've got a new Mario game, we're so excited for it, it comes out tomorrow, and I have no trailer, no review, but a new Mario game is out tomorrow. Am I going to go to GameStop and buy the new Mario game? Yeah. Yes. I don't need to know anything. If Nintendo made a new Mario game, they've got my money. I don't need details. I don't need a trailer. I know it's going to be good. Period. They've never, ever let me down. Not once. With their main first-party stuff. I can't think of a single, you know, outside of, like, the weird sort of failed consoles, like Virtual Boy and... like the Super Scope and stuff. You know, they've had a couple little weird oddball things of theirs that, you know, I'm not completely enamored with. But their main console, main first party titles, they're always bangers. They're always, always, always bangers.
I'll have you know, sir, that I have a Super Scope
I
in
know you
every
do. I knew you
Super
were gonna
Scope
come.
game ever made. And it's fantastic.
It's okay. It's just okay.
Next time you come over, we have to play Yoshi Safari.
I will play the Super Scope.
I'll let you shoot. I'll drive Yoshi.
Okay, sounds good.
So the concept for the game is one player is Yoshi, and the other player is Mario with a bazooka riding on Yoshi. What could be better?
Awesome. I'm in. Sounds
No,
great.
the best Super Scope game, Battle Clash. It's a
Okay.
mech game. It's an anime like mech warrior thing. Fucking fantastic.
Awesome.
No, I totally agree. And what's weird with Nintendo is they've had some like major missteps along the way in terms of failed innovation, we'll call it. Because they really kind of lost traction against the PS1 is kind of when that started.
Yep.
And then they got their dicks kicked in by the PS2 during the GameCube era. And then they had that monster resurgence with the Wii and the DS family.
Yep.
And then they got their dicks kicked in with the Wii U.
Yeah, Wii U was a big
But the
stumble.
3DS was out at the same time and just absolutely demolished everything else.
Yep.
And then it's like they just kind of took all those ideas, turned it into a Switch, and there you go. The rest is history. Since 2017, they've just been an unstoppable force. But one thing that never yielded along the way, even with those weird systems, was the quality that Nintendo lives and dies by.
100% agreed.
And yeah, it's just it's nice to be reminded of what this level of caring looks like. The game's already sold 10 million units.
It's the fastest selling Nintendo game on a Nintendo console in the history of
Yeah, in
US.
3 days it sold 10 million copies. So, I mean, this game's just going to be massive.
I mean, look, to anybody that's not sold, like I can't sell this hard enough. Nintendo just up and released the next Zelda game, and Zelda games are always good. But this is like Mike and I are 20% in, and I think we can both walk away from this conversation saying this is going to go down as one of the greatest RPGs of all time, one of the greatest open world games of all time.
Why are you saying one of?
One of the it might be the best. And it's unquestionably the best handheld game ever made.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the best RPG ever made. And I'm pretty sure that we're honestly dealing with the greatest video game ever made.
It sure feels that way.
Well, because I think about what I herald as the greatest games of all time, and I mean I'm an old head, so Chrono Trigger,
Yeah,
always comes to mind. And Chrono Trigger's old, man. It's been around a long time, and it gets some armor just based on nostalgia, but it can't do what this is doing. Innovation's always a very important thing to me when it comes to naming games that move up the ladder. It's like I play tons and tons of RPGs. There's nothing close to this. There's nothing close to it. So
it's pretty fucking out.
It's about time.
It really is.
Long time coming, but I think we finally have a new king out there, and it's really unfortunate for every other game that's been released this year, because they don't have a chance.
No, I fully agree.
I mean,
Fully
they don't have a chance against this thing. They should just have the Zelda Awards, where everybody just comes and talks about how Zelda's the best thing ever, and then they should have a game award for everything else.
Every single time I sit down with it, whether I accomplish a lot or accomplish very little, I still walk away in disbelief at how fucking stupendous this game is.
Yes. Yeah, it has everything. It has everything you expect and then some. So, not everyone was having a great day on release day.
Good segue.
In fact, some people went to the extreme in the retail world. So, I read this story, and I just thought this was fantastic. Being a prior retail worker that dealt with some serious shenanigans back in my day, just working for a corporate entity full of uneducated people that did not belong in management positions, and a company just riddled with debt. We're talking about Guitar Center here. Please buy your shit from anywhere else. Seriously, they're the worst. Now, GameStop had quite a wild happening on Tears of the Kingdom's release day. So we've heard plenty of things in the news about complaints from GameStop employees, particularly about in the pay disparity, being underpaid, overworked, while the CEOs of the company rake in eye-watering salaries and just bleed their employees for dollars.
Yep.
Just one of the absolute worst companies you can work for on the planet. On Tears of the Kingdom release day, a store, I think it was Brighton, Michigan.
Brighton, Michigan, yep.
Gave the ultimate finger to GameStop. When people showed up to GameStop in that Michigan location, they were greeted to the gate being drawn and a note left on the door. And the note read, "Unfortunately, due to poor working conditions, the staff of the Brighton GameStop have decided to resign, effective immediately. Management overworks, underpays, and underappreciates its frontline workers, sets unrealistic expectations, and constantly threatens termination for any employee that cannot exceed them. To all of our loyal guests, we are terribly sorry for this inconvenience. We appreciate every one of you and your continued business, but I literally cannot pay my rent." I like how he breaks the we and then just to I. But I literally cannot pay my rent. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, please forward them to Regional Manager Tim Keeley and District Manager James Moreland. And then they list the manager's emails. Boy, does this sound familiar. Do you remember having a district manager that was a piece of shit that we hated working for and came up with all these crazy goals that we had to slave drive our friends and coworkers into trying to hit for fear of losing our jobs? Man, that sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it? You are muted once again, sir.
When I was let go from Guitar Center, I was in my car driving home, and I get a call from one of my employees. I was the store manager at Guitar Center Glen Burnie, and I get a call from one of my employees, and he says, "Hey, me and so 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 and so, we're ready to walk out right now. What the fuck happened?" And I was like, "You guys don't need to quit your jobs. It's okay. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. Do it." But like, I literally got a call. Like 6 of my dudes were ready to just like give the finger and walk out the door. And I was like, let's not. You don't need to quit your job. It's fine. Like, we'll be okay. But that just gives you the idea of the vibe. Is like, you eventually take a certain amount of bullshit where you just go, I don't fucking care anymore. you don't care about your people, and this is like the biggest problem with corporate America in general is exactly like you said. It's hard to be on the front lines, the guy actually sweating, the guy actually showing up for the midnight release for Tears of the Kingdom. They're not paying that guy overtime. That guy had to leave early on Wednesday to make up for the hours he's got to work on release day for Tears of the Kingdom. He ain't making overtime. But meanwhile, the CEO is making 10,000 times what he's making. It's not sustainable. It's so selfish and stupid. And unfortunately, it's basically every corporation in the fucking country right now operates that way. You have the dozen or so people at the top that have yachts, and everyone else, the next 100, 200 people below them have nice houses and nice cars. And then the rest of the, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 employees having a hard time paying rent. And it's sad, but that's what it is.
Indeed. And I imagine that, I kind of feel all sides of this, because I'm sure that district manager is a real asshole to these guys, but I'm sure it's because he's under the same amount of pressure too. Yep, because I remember when I was a sales manager, I did the dirty work, man. Nobody fucking liked me, but I made sure we hit our numbers.
Yep.
No one was crying when Mike Dawson decided to pack his bags and go somewhere else. But, it was do this or get let go, basically.
Right. Or we're not making a bonus, and you need the bonus to survive.
Yeah. So, all these guys that work, district managers, regional managers in these retail chains, it's all they got. Because a lot of times district managers and regional managers in these chains, if they lose that job, they're not holding college degrees. They're people that get promoted out of stores. It's the carrot to get people to suck that dick for $11 an hour. Is, well, someday you could be a district manager and make $60,000.
Yep. Someday
you could be a regional manager, make six figures. And it's like, dude, looking back, knowing what I know now, it's like even that's fucking peanuts. And it used to be a carrot, How many times do we have our district manager come? Oh, I could give you this store, and you'll be making $70,000 a year. Like, that's fucking enough to do shit with in 2023.
Right.
So not only does the whole store quit, which they probably could have any day they wanted and have been validated, but they did it on the day that fucked them the most, and I commend them for that, because there's no single greater game release day in the past decade than this Tears of the Kingdom release. And man, they planned it just perfect. They probably planning, this is the day we do it to fuck these guys.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if poor James Moreland, the district manager, there's no way he keeps his job.
Yeah, those guys' emails are getting blown.
There's no way he keeps his job. No way. He's fucking toast. So GameStop. And what's weird is, like, I'm torn, because, like, I like having the video game chain. So, like, I try to do business with GameStop, right?
Yeah, likewise.
Versus giving the money to Amazon or Target or Walmart or Best Buy. I'm like, I should probably go with the actual video game shop. And, like, all the family-owned ones, like, an hour away from me. So, I spend enough money there on my retro shit, but I can't be driving all the way up to Bel Air to pick up a copy of Tears of the Kingdom. So, it's like, well, I'll at least support the GameStop in the fucking Annapolis Mall or Severna Park or wherever, because I want those stores to stay around. They're convenient and nice. But yeah, then the other side of the coin is, well, these people that work there aren't taken very good care of. And then there's the other side of the coin of, well, it's like, well, if it was really so bad, go work somewhere else.
Yeah.
At some point, I think there's a certain age that it makes sense to work at GameStop.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, if you're late teens, early 20s, you just want a job that isn't sitting at a desk. It's probably a fine gig to buy your ramen noodles and mac and cheese.
Yeah,
but you're not going to raise kids on it.
No. That's kind of like the other side of the whole debate that I'm always like, well, at what point do you go, maybe I need to stop working at GameStop?
Yeah.
But it's the other side of that coin is, well, if I go somewhere else, I'm not really going to get paid anymore. If you flip through Indeed and look at job postings, it's like account executive, and it's like 40,000 a year. Like, what the fuck? What year is it?
Yeah, the amount of fucking job applications I've looked at where it's like, bachelor's degree and 5 years experience preferred, starting salary $43K. You're like, what do you guys do? What?
Yeah.
What planet are you from?
Who knows, man?
Who has a bachelor's degree in 5 years in this field and is going to accept that money?
Commission sales,
People are
baby.
crazy.
This is the way. That or to start your own business. Seriously, you can open a hot dog cart and make fucking fortune if you wanted. I digress. We have said an awful lot about Tears of the Kingdom. But wait, Johnny. It's time for this week's final segment. And boy, do I have a one-up for you.
Uh-oh.
So I was saying that I was going to make sure to pre-order my game from Best Buy because we had discussed the different pre-order perks.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't even opened it yet. But
oh, dude, that's sick. You got to frame that.
yeah, it's kind of already got a baked-in frame to it. But it's this beautiful framed artwork of the Tears of the Kingdom cover. And it even has a little art print registration card that I'm sure will be worth a fortune someday. So my one up is I am very glad that I went through with Best Buy and got this beautiful Tears of the Kingdom
that's sick.
art print that I will definitely be putting in a proper frame. And thankfully, it didn't get too fucked up in the mail. It's a little warbly, but once I get it framed, it'll be fine. So, there were so many different Tears of the Kingdom one-offs that hopefully all of you got something. Because those things are just going to be on the moon, unobtainium. Moving forward with how popular this game is and how many copies are going to be sold. So if you got your pre-order piece, take wonderful care of it, regardless of what you got. I went with the Best Buy art print. Did you go after anything or?
I wanted the wood plaque from GameStop, but they were for pre-orders only, and I didn't have it pre-ordered.
Yep. Yeah, the day I saw that print come available, it was actually the Wario 64's account, whereas I immediately just bought it. I'm like, I don't care. I need that. I need that.
That's
one.
super cool.
So
that's super cool. That's definitely worth having. I'm going to do a 2-up, but I'll make them quick. Number 1, I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I thought it was great. I thought it was a perfectly entertaining kids movie. It was everything that I would want a Mario movie to be. I was a little distracted by Chris Pratt. His Mario was not my favorite, but it didn't take me out of the movie too much, and I really enjoyed it. Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong was great. Anya Taylor-Joy's Princess Peach was amazing. I really enjoyed the film. I recommend it. If you're a big Mario fanboy or were at some point in time, you'll probably get a kick out of the movie. And then my other one is going back to your Metroid shirt. I have discovered a new website thanks to Wario64. It is called Yeti, but it's spelled YETEE.com. YETEE.com. And what they do every single day, they have a new limited edition shirt for $15 that they list until they're sold out. And they sell out every day. And every day, there's some kind of nerdy t-shirt. So I thought about this because I saw your Metroid shirt. They had a Metroid shirt last week where it's Samus in the final form from the Dread game. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't played the game, but the final green form. And it's amazing. And I was like, dude, $15, done. And then today they had another Samus in like an action shot. And 2 days before it was, I think it was Xeno Chronicles. And then the day before that, it was like Stardew Valley. And then the day before that, it was like Animal Crossing. They have all these cool video game themed, sometimes anime themed, sometimes movie themed t-shirts. But what's great, like I said, it's one day. They say today, this is the shirt. It's $15. And when this number is 0, we're out, and that's it. And I love that. I love $15 is cheap. I can say it's a very high quality shirt. It's now one of my favorite shirts that I own, and I'm hooked. I'm going to be buying a whole lot of shirts from this website. It's really awesome.
Dude,
what are you freaking out about? I just saw your eyes get twice normal size.
Dude, hang on. There's a death metal Stardew Valley t-shirt.
Yes. Isn't that incredible?
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
Good. It's so good. I know. I saw that same one.
That's so metal.
No, that website is the shit. And if I'm literally every single day, there's a new shirt and it's limited edition, $15, and that's it. So if you're looking for some good tees, check out Yeti, YETEE.com. And that's it.
Indeed. So that does wrap up this week's episode of the Power Gamer Podcast. We will, of course, be back again next week to further probably just sit around and circle jerk about fucking Tears of the Kingdom. So
that sounds about right. Yep.
Yeah, be ready for that. And until then, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paul.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch you on the flip flop.
Yeah.